I figured that since we were on such a roll talking about coffee mugs that we would keep it going with one more video. As you guys know, we're headed very soon into 2026, so I thought I would do an update video, kind of like a refresh of one of the videos I've done in the past that just kind of talks about some of the top selling coffee mugs, especially vintage coffee mugs, because that's what we like to focus on here at Pish Posh Reselling. And we're going to look at some vintage coffee mugs that you could possibly find at a thrift store, a yard sale, or even in your own kitchen cabinet, maybe, and turn it around and sell it on eBay for hundreds of dollars. And that's what some of the people that we're going to look at today, that's what they have done. And so we're going to kind of analyze it a little bit and see what mugs, what made them valuable, and what we should be looking for when we're out on the hunt, looking for things to resell on eBay and Etsy and other platforms. Let's go over and look at the computer. So here we are on a main search page on eBay, and all I did was in the search bar I typed in vintage coffee mug because, as I said earlier, that's what we like to focus on, particularly for this just short little video that we're going to talk about. And then if you don't know how to find solds on eBay, what you do is you scroll down on the search results page until you get down to show only, and then you can just click the box for sold items. So then you'll see the results coming up with the green lettering, and those indicate that those are sold listings. I went over here additionally and I sorted my price plus shipping to highest. There's a few choices there that you can sort by. But anyway, let's take a look a little bit closer. Here's our first one. You can see some fun stuff that this is kind of one of those dream mugs. And I've talked about it before. It was not a surprise that this is at the top of the list, but I just wanted to share it for anyone who is new. These have historically been very high priced mugs, and this is a John Wayne cast and crew coffee mug where the auction actually ended at $6,660. Now, I'm not sure what made that one go super high. It could be that the movie was not as common, The Barbarian and the Geisha, or it could be the mugs are not as common. Anyway, these mugs were given out to cast and crew by John Wayne. They were signed, or the person's name was painted onto the backside of the mug. So these, you'll see a few of these. If you do this same kind of search on eBay, you'll find a few of these all at the top of the list. So keep that in mind. John Wayne cast and crew coffee mugs sell for probably the highest prices on eBay in the last few years that I've been looking. Here's a fun one. Number 2, we're going to talk about this White Castle diner mug. It's kind of, I just recently talked about diner mugs in one of my videos, a restaurant ware. This one is White Castle hamburgers. Now, the auction on this one went really high, $1,685. And I'm sure this has something to do with the age of the mug. It says 20s and 30s. It's by McNichol. Definitely very thick. They call it a shaving mug as well. But not every White Castle mug is going to be this kind of a payday for you. But I'm sure it has a lot to do with how the logo appears, and the rarity of any of these mugs surviving this long. But I just thought I would share that one. That one is super, super fun. The next one is totally a new one for me. So it's really cool to do these updates because year by year, certain things all of a sudden just take off and you don't know that you're supposed to be looking for these mugs. Now, this mug, it says in the title, and it came up a few times when I was doing research, it was a mug that was featured in The Sopranos. So again, that's something that we talk about in our mug videos, is that a lot of times mugs gain value if they're featured in a popular TV show. So here is a picture of whoever that is. Sorry, I never watched The Sopranos, but Tony probably. He's holding a coffee mug that she has for sale. It shows up in they do a lot of the screenshot pictures of it. So let's take a look at well, this one looks like it's new, so that probably helped. I just wanted to see what the bottom looks like. Okay, so Kalika coffee. Calica. I don't know. Made in Italy. So it's kind of one of those, yeah, made one of that Italian pottery type coffee mugs. That's awesome. So they had 3 of these and they sold all of them. So I'll have to keep that in mind. This is one I'm going to try to burn into my brain. This one actually did not sell for $500. I looked at, I'll show you that in a second. It actually sold for $433. So let me show you how I found how much it actually really sold for. So on eBay, on the sellers, let's see, where are we? My seller hub, you can come over to this tab called product research. The eBay app also has a part under the selling page where it talks about see how much your items are worth, and there's a little place to do this as well. So you click on product research, and so in here all I did was type in Meadow Calica mug, or a lot of times I'll just copy and paste the title, and so I can find out that specific listing. That works a lot of times. You can see how much it sold for. So you come down here and it shows the sold price range for these mugs. You can see the whole year they were selling pretty low, pretty low, pretty low, pretty low. And then boom, they start going up. Okay. So in July. So I don't know if it was discontinued at that point because it says it's a discontinued mug. But this is why we're constantly doing research on these things, because these things can change. So here's that top one, that one we were looking for, $433. You can find, let's see a couple of them are all kind of low in price. Here's a $200 one as well that just sold in October. Okay, so very, very interesting. Keep that in mind. Here, let's go back and take a look at it again. We've got some pastel striping going on in that type of Italian pottery. Okay, next up is another one that's not a huge surprise. I just wanted to throw it out there in case you're a new viewer. A good reminder for the rest of us that these Sigma Taste Setter mugs can be pretty good. Gonzo seems to be the top priced one. They are Muppets. Let's see, you can see the bottom. This one actually did sell for $399. It is new with tags. And I saw that the lowest one of these had sold for in the last 3 years on that research tab was $200. So still a good pickup. I'm sure it's hard to find these in good condition. I could see how his little beak would be chipped or things like that. So check it over carefully before you ask the big prices, but this is something to kind of keep an eye out for. Super, super fun. Okay, the next one is also not a huge surprise. It covers a couple different things. It's a travel mug, like we talked about in one of our recent videos, of course. We also did a video on these types of kind of nerdy, geeky, themed different kinds of coffee mugs. And so this is a vintage 1980s Apple Macintosh. And you can see the rainbow logo on there. And this one actually sold for $250. So on one side it looks like a keyboard, the other side has the little Apple logo. It's got the no slip grip thing at the bottom we talked about in that last video. But definitely keep an eye out for vintage Apple products of any kind. The coffee mugs can do really, really well as well. The next one is kind of fun. New, kind of new to me, but not super new once you see it. Did you guys know that the Lenox Spice Village also came in coffee mugs? So we've talked about the canisters on our channel before. I have found little Spice Village. I think I had found 2 of the little spice jars in the last year or so at Goodwill and sold those for a good price. I found a different set of spice jars by Lenox that you guys know about that I've been selling off slowly on eBay for a very good profit for what I had paid for it. But I don't know that I knew before this that Spice Village had coffee mugs. So the best prices that I'm seeing for these obviously are a whole set, right? So the full set of 8 complete set of 8 Spice Village coffee mugs This sold for $277. So when I did the research on it, the set of 8 was going from anywhere from $250 up to $300. There wasn't anything past that. So keep an eye out, because if I only found one, I would pick it up for sure, because you could probably, I don't even know what they're going for individually. I didn't check that, but you could probably research that. What, $30 maybe per one? I don't know. Fun, fun, fun. Okay. Next up is, okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this might not be one that you're going to find. But we can take lessons from some of these rare coffee mugs. We can take a lesson and we can apply it in a general way to some other mug finds or thrifting finds that we might come across. So this is an employee coffee mug, 1978 by Kenner. Okay, and so Kenner was making all the Star Wars toys and things like that. So $200 million in sales, November 27th, 1978. And this got bid up to $222.50. So that's what I'm assuming. So my takeaway from this, employee mugs, a lot of times there's advertising mugs and then there's employee mugs that are just given out within the company. And if it's a bigger name, if it's a recognizable name, if it's a name that's kind of, or maybe even out of production, out of date, like a nostalgia type name, then take a second look at it, right? And maybe there isn't another one for you to share, find comps for. And so they ran an auction. And that's probably one of the cases where an auction makes a lot of sense. So very interesting. I didn't do any research further if these come up often or not, but I don't know. Maybe your folks worked for a company back in the day. They have some merchandise still in the house. Maybe you did. Check those kitchen cabinets. You might not find a $200 mug, but there might be something that's worth more than 25 cents for putting out at a yard sale. Okay. And then this one is a classic. This one is still holding strong. The Anchor Hawking Fire King Snoopy Curse You Red Baron. This has been a Bolo coffee mug. Be on the lookout for this coffee mug since I started reselling. I feel like 20 years ago. People have always wanted this mug. Now this is always, this is the orange version. There is a red version that sells pretty well. Also, I seem to remember the orange one sells for a little bit more. The red is a little bit more common. This one did sell for $239. So it's a milk glass mug. A lot of the Snoopy or Peanuts Fire King mugs can do pretty well. So double check those when you find it. This next one is new to me as well. And I don't know much about it. So I don't know if there are a ton. Okay, I don't know if there's a ton of these out there. Like they say rare, but I don't know if that's truly rare or not, but it did sell for $120. So I guess we can maybe take their word for it. So it's Jim Henson's Muppet Vision 3D. And as you can see, it was part of MGM Studios. So it was possible it was just something that wasn't there very long. And so there's not a lot of merch out there for it. So $120 for that Muppet Vision MGM Studios. And in a side point, we've talked about in the past, sometimes amusement park merch, coffee mugs, things like that, especially if they're defunct, or it's a ride on, a ride that's no longer exists from a theme park. Sometimes that stuff can be very collectible as well. And the last one we're going to talk about kind of blew my mind a little bit because I had no idea that this vintage Pyrex Homestead coffee mug was rare. At least I don't think I did. If I've talked about this in a previous video, I am so glad I am doing this video because it gone out of my brain. I know this happens to you guys too, but I needed to get this back in my head that this is a kind of a rare piece, right? So I wouldn't have thought it because to me, like this homestead pattern is not super sought after, but what I'm seeing is that there was only 2 that sold this year. They both sold in September of this year. There's only 2 that sold in the past 3 years, according to the market, the product research thingy. One sold for $179 and one sold for $155. There are none available for sale right now. I did find, let me see. Yeah, no, I was looking at something else. I did find one that sold on Mercari for $80. So there's got to be something to it that they just didn't make many of these mugs in this pattern. But that is something I need to file away. I need to just double check. I mean, I don't have one in my stock. I know that. But, you know, I got to keep my eyes open. It's got to be one of those mugs that I keep in my reselling Rolodex. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's possible to find some of these mugs that we just talked about that sell for super high value? I think it is. I think at least some of them are out there and they're waiting for us. And so we just need to be out there and on the hunt. I know some of you have found, like I've done videos like this before, whether it's coffee mugs or other subjects, and you guys share your stories of when you found those items and what you sold them for. So please, please do so again. Also, let me know in the comments down below if there is anything new there. Like I said throughout the video, there were some things that have been on my bucket list for years. And then there's others that were brand new to me. And some of them, like the one we saw, the Sopranos mug, looks like it just recently took an increase in value. So you never know. Things are always changing in the resale world. And so that's why it's fun to take a look at these things from time to time. So feel free to watch any of the other videos. I'm going to put a link up here somewhere, a couple of the other coffee mug videos in case you're new here and you've missed them. But we'd love to talk about things that sell for a profit, maybe things that a lot of people haven't really thought of. So feel free to check out any of my other videos as well, and I will talk to you guys soon.